Greetings, Stars fans, and welcome to the Two Brothers Mic'd Up show. If you didn't know, what we do is we sit down, talk about the recent Dallas Stars game, give our thoughts to you right here on YouTube. At the beginning of each episode, we go back to the last episode. We give what we think the scores are going to be, so always stick around to the very end. Quinn, you liked a score of 4-2 for the Dallas Stars and a score of 5-1 for the Avs. I like the score of 3-2 for the Stars and a score of 5-2 for the Avs. Yeah, you hit on yet another one. I'm always a goal off. It's ridiculous how I can almost call a score.
It's because you always decide to be one goal off of my predictions.
Yeah. It's not by design. I know that. So, the beginning of the game, I think the key story going into this one is, I think the Stars in the past 3 years are only have 2 wins against the Colorado Avalanche, so that's a big key going into this game, how they were going to perform. The West is still up for grabs, but we have 5 key players out. We have Spezza, Sagan, Demers, Janmark, and Eves all out in this game. We have Jason Dickenson getting called up for his first NHL game. You see that Eves and Spezza are out, and you see Dickenson coming in. What were your thoughts really on how going into this game, especially going up against the Colorado Avalanche?
I like the way Dickenson plays. You look at his AHL points, he's got 31 goals and 29 assists or something like that. He's 6th in the AHL in scoring. So obviously this kid can perform.
Yep.
And you don't expect him to come in and make an immediate impact in this game, but you want to say that he provides just that extra depth to play hard and try to give him something, a little boost. And you see that with his goal, first NHL goal in this game.
Yeah, but the call-up of Jason Dickenson didn't really surprise me. It's just that how well composed he looked in this game. And whenever I say that, it's not a lot of people have been talking about him. Just like you said, you're reading off his stats, and you would think that, Razor or Strader or maybe Jim Nill or someone in the Stars organization would kind of, talk about this kid, but we haven't even really heard anything about him. To be honest with you, I had to go and look to see how he's been doing just to know, was this kid a worthy call-up? So,
just from watching him play and everything, he might be just one of those guys that you don't need to talk about him. He lets his stats talk for himself. Again with McKenzie, you don't really see more people talking about him for his physicality, but he's one of the top point getters on the Texas Stars right now. So I feel like those are 2 players that prefer to let their stats talk.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then going on what you just said, McKenzie getting a call-up. Now, with all of the call-ups that we've had, I think they've really paid out, but how have you liked McKenzie in his time with playing with the Stars?
I feel McKenzie, he knows his role that he needs to play for this team. I think he knows that he'll never be that top-line point getter. He's kind of like a Jamie Benn minus a little bit of skill in the offense department. He goes out there, he plays fast, he plays big.
He's a former AHL Rookie of the Year, so he can score.
But I feel like a lot of his game comes from his physicality. He can push people off the puck, he can guard the puck in the corners, and I think that's what helps lead him to a lot of his goals and his points, the work ethic.
Yeah, McKenzie logs about 10.5 minutes. Dickenson logs about 12 minutes. All, I think, really good minutes for what they were out there. I thought McKenzie played really well. You kind of noticed him along the boards where like you said, he's going to be noticed for his physicality. He had some chances kind of in the first period, kind of deep into the Avs zone on Pickard. Dickenson obviously is the focal point of this game, getting his first NHL goal on his first NHL shot. How did you like the line of Dickenson, Nichushkin, and Sevier? Yeah.
I mean, I felt it was going to come to that line because with bringing McKenzie in, I actually thought McKenzie might be playing with Dickenson and Nichushkin, just because getting close to the playoff time, you don't really want to start breaking apart lines and having them play with other people when you've already got the chemistry set in. You know, they've been playing great with the lines that they've had lately. So, but I mean, I think an easy move of Sevier and McKenzie, they both play similar styles. Sevier is probably a little bit more offensive in his game, and I think it was kind of an okay move to move those two, because I think they both panned out good for the lines they were on.
Yeah, I agree. The whole composition of the lines that Dallas drew out in last night's game, I felt there was a lot of good balance to it. At one point in the game, Dallas was up like over 3 times as many shots as Colorado had put up, but I mean that could factor in that, you know, Colorado doesn't have anything to play for except for a little bit of pride. Dallas has everything to play for right now, but having those 5 key players out and yet still getting this performance from them has to go a long way. It has to give some kind of confidence that whenever we get these players in, it should only build off of this type of game. I feel as if whenever you get your call-ups and you have... What I've noticed this season and a little bit of last season, whenever the Stars call someone up, and in their first game, their first couple of games, they tend to play really well. I mean, Foxa did the same thing. Richie obviously did the same thing. Janmark did so well that he's stayed with the team. And, you know, McKenzie coming in, showing that, you know, he's right on the cusp of making this roster. Dickenson coming in, getting his first NHL goal. I mean, it does go to show you that the farm system is working very well, that these kids can come in and transition into the system that we have. You know, it just goes super well for years to come.
Yeah, it's definitely going to start bringing questions come to free agency. Like, if the Stars need to start letting these youngsters shine on the team, or if they need to just postpone a little bit and keep signing these veterans. I mean, my opinion is, you know, I mean, I'm sure a lot of y'all already know my opinion on it. Just, they need to start cutting some of these people loose and start letting our youth shine through.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. You know, there are going to be some veterans that just don't have a place on this team anymore with the emergence of our farm team. Whenever they're coming in, they shine pretty bright. So, I mean, you got to think that Fiddler's gone, Moen's probably gone. I mean, right now, those are the only 2 veterans that I think that, you know, are pretty much gone in the offseason. I mean, Goligoski will be gone because he'll fetch too much out on the market for the Stars to even think about re-signing him. Demers might be gone because we have a good D system in the farm system. So it's going to be an interesting offseason to see who goes, who stays, and who gets called up for, and especially come training camp, who actually sticks on lines and who can make this the big club's roster. Moving a bit forward, going into, you know, the first period was really good. The Stars, you know, they were leading 1-0. They had a 10 positive shot differential with like 14-4 is what they're leaving with the first period. But going into the second period, I think that's when Dallas really turned it on, and it was because of that boarding major that Johnson got, which, if you are to pick one of the Colorado Avalanche's defense to get that penalty and get kicked out, you want Eric Johnson gone.
Either Eric Johnson or Tyson Barrie.
Yeah. And you know what? Barry didn't really look all that dangerous in this game, so I think Johnson has the potential to turn a game for his defensive style. So it was glad to see him gone. And then they get that that hooking penalty on Klingberg to make a 5-on-3. Talk about, Colton Sevier with Patrick Eaves being out gets time on the first unit on the power play. How'd you like him being slotted in right there over maybe like someone else?
I like it, Sevier, you tell Sevier to do something and he's going to do it. I mean, they probably told Sevier, hey, go to the front of the net, stay on the side of the net, don't move anywhere else. And, that's what the kid does. I mean, that's his role in this team. You tell him to go kill penalties, he kills penalties. I mean, and I think he's starting to show a lot more promise now in this season for his offense abilities, which I think will keep him on this team.
Yeah, he's definitely, you can tell that he has a lot more confidence in his game because, in the first period when the Avalanche took that penalty, you see that Colton's on the first unit and he makes that pass over to Klingberg. Maybe in the earlier season that he just doesn't quite get that pass over there, but I think he's finding that touch to where everything's kind of like he's seeing the game a lot better. He's flowing with it a lot better. And then him in the second period getting that, I mean, that's a goal scorer's goal. Right there in tight, pulling it back to his backhand, going forehand on that little spin move. It was all in one fluid motion. Like, it wasn't choppy. He didn't look unsure about it. It wasn't a garbage goal. That's a goal scorer's goal. It was pretty fantastic to see, and them getting it so early in the 5-minute major. But then that being the best side of the coin, talking about the worst side of the coin has to be that second power play unit. Like, it just doesn't seem there's any kind of cohesion to it. They were, it was very weak. And for them to keep, trugging them out because they got no consistency. Goligoski was pretty spare on the back end for it. They just couldn't get any kind of consistency. Whenever you're seeing, like, after 2 shifts and you're seeing them constantly just trying to dump it in and not really chasing, can't really make some passes here and there, why not go with the full Roussel, Foxa, and Hemsky line? Why not? Look, Jordy scored, which, kind of validates him being there.
Well, I think with that being said, I think that was the line that was out there when Jordy scored. I'm pretty sure.
I think because the penalty was probably ending, so they got put out there. But like a full dedicated number 2, you see for a couple of shifts, they have nothing going on. Throw out just a regular line. Throw out the full fiddler line. Why not? And if anything, it's letting your other units rest a bit. Let's the first unit rest because that's going to be your workhorse on a 5-minute. Don't go first unit, second unit, first unit, second unit. Go whenever the second unit is having problems, go first unit, second unit, and then go with a third or fourth line. I know the second unit is made up of third and fourth liners, but have a dedicated line out there that is just a regular line because everything else wasn't working. And when I see Goligoski out there not really doing much, throw Johns out there. I mean, he's proved that in his 12 games that he's played, he can move the puck, he can skate, he's become a lot more confident with the puck. He knows how to move it, knows when to move it. You never really see him victimized as much as you do with Goligoski and Klingberg. Which, again, when Goligoski and Klingberg weren't playing together, they were good. But when they were playing together, and to highlight, I think it was in the second period when Goligoski just doesn't know that Klingberg's over there and throws it back over there to him. No communication, nothing going on. And it almost turns into a goal. and that turned into, I think this might have been Klingberg's like lowest minutes for one of the games. That, I mean, he only logged about 18 minutes. So I think Lindy Ruff was understanding that, Chris Russell and Goligoski logged the most, but I think you need to get Russell out there and get him flowing again because he's going to be a workhorse towards the playoffs.
Yeah.
And seeing Klingberg, get dialed back a little bit, I think that helps, keep him fresh. But, man, at the beginning of the season, it looked like Goligoski and Klingberg, were firing on all cylinders. But now this car that they've been in just has no doors, has no tires, and damn sure doesn't have an engine anymore. That line, those pairings just doesn't work anymore.
Yeah, I would definitely want to see Russell moved up there if Goligoski's going to stay on the top line. I feel that they need to move Russell up there with him. And I think Jordy should be paired with Klingberg if they're going to scratch Nemeth, and likewise Nemeth be paired with Klingberg. I think just maybe there's just too much pressure being put on Klingberg right now that he's really starting to feel it. Dial back his minutes a little bit. Tell him, hey, it's okay. Play a little bit less, and maybe he'll improve and get some of that weight lifted off of him. Because right now, I mean, those two just aren't clicking.
No, yeah, I agree. That something after the next game, I think, they'll have a couple of days off. Hopefully they'll get everything worked out and they'll know exactly what the pairings are going to be. But I think this game right here proved that they're just not playing well together. But Jordy Ben getting that goal, it kind of, that Jordy Ben looks like he's a lot more confident. He's not being exposed as much as he used to, especially last season. Holy hell, was he just terrible. But, I mean, the whole team except for Ben and Sagan were pretty much terrible. But it's good seeing Jordy Ben. Now, he has now 2 goals in the past 3 games. That only makes things easier going into the playoffs. It just seems like everybody is firing on all cylinders. Everyone's playing their A game. And going into the third period with a 3-0 lead on the Avalanche, a team that has just dominated. Dominated isn't even the word. Just total annihilation of anything the Stars want to do. It was refreshing to see, especially when it was almost 30-8 shots. It was ridiculous. The Avalanche didn't get double-digit figures of shots until the third period. In the third period, they outshot Dallas 12-5, but that's also because Klingberg took a penalty, Steven Johns took a penalty, which, again, another controversial penalty on Steven Johns. What's a high stick? A high stick is whenever you get your stick up too high and you hit a player. But in addition to that rule it's not high sticking if you're following through a shot. It kind of looked like he was following through on a shot to me. But again, Steven Johns continues to be the poster child for just controversial penalties and bad calls that the officiating has been doing. In the third period, you do see Colorado start to push back, but again, it's not the end-all, be-all, but you still have to imagine that the Stars want to have that killer instinct, and then for them to let Colorado even sniff a chance at coming back in this game, it's not concerning, but you need to kind of clean that up come towards playoffs. You can't go into turtle mode in the playoffs. It has to be pedal to the metal 100% of the time. And for the Beauchemin goal, it is what it is. Kari, hadn't been having a lot of action, so that goal can happen.
Plus the millions of people in front of him trying to get the screen.
Yeah, that can happen, and it's nice seeing Roussel get his empty net. Dallas now extends the record in a single season for empty nets. I think it's now 24-25, but in this game, Colorado now has the record for most given up empty net goals.
Thank you, Patrick Waugh.
Yeah, for 20. I think it's 20 that they now have given up. So at the end of this game, you see that dirty ass move from Aginla, and then it gets tipped. It's now credited to Matthias. At the end of the game, we go and we start paying attention to the other game that's going on, the St. Louis game. We see St. Louis go and get their 2 points that they need, going down in, which makes the last game of the season mean something. It's not just a rest game. It's a game that you want to go out and win. So you're going to have your A game players playing. Now I have this question for you. What's the advantage and disadvantage to having the final regular season game matter? What do you think it is the advantage and disadvantage to that?
It's definitely a morale booster or a morale deflator. Dallas is playing to win the division. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. They're showing that they want to win the division. They want to show that they're the best Western team for the season. And then they'll take that morale that if they win into the playoffs, and I think that would be a huge factor. Home ice all the way through the conference to the conference final if they get there. If they lose, I think that could have its benefits. Now they're going to be mad they didn't win, so they use that anger to play harder in the playoffs. The bad thing is they start to lose morale, and then game one of the playoffs comes. Now they're all like, well, can we actually win? So I don't want them to second guess themselves. I want them to know that they deserve to be in the playoffs, and their hard work has shown that they deserve to be there, whether they win the division or not.
Yeah, for me, the advantage has to be it only gears you up more to the playoffs. The advantage is, with this game meaning something, it only keeps you in that mentality of being hungry. It makes you want to go out and win as much as you can. And if you go out and win and capture the conference title, that's only, a morale boost. It's only an added bonus to what you've accomplished this season. A disadvantage, like you said, if the Stars do go out and they lose and the Blues win and we don't get any title, does that affect their morale? Does that affect how they go into the playoffs? Or will they just be even hungrier that they didn't get the title? Another disadvantage is, what if someone gets hurt? What if Jamie Benn gets hurt? That's always the scariest thing when you're so close to the playoffs before they start, especially on the last game. That essentially kind of doesn't mean anything, but then again, it means everything. It means who you play against in the playoffs. If someone gets hurt and we have like a Tampa Bay Lightning thing that happens, that our best player goes out and we don't have him for the whole playoffs, that could be really, really bad. There's so much upside to this game meaning something, but then there's potential that there could be some fallout if it doesn't pan out. Now, talking about that, if the Stars do win or if they do lose, who do you want to play, Chicago or Minnesota?
We've had either one's number. We've played, I think, we've won 3 out of 1 against Chicago and 3 out of 2 against Minnesota or something around there. Don't quote me on it. I mean, I honestly think that we've played Chicago harder, but in my opinion, it wouldn't really matter who we play. I think we'd play just as hard against either one of them because we know that we can score super high numbers against them. But then again, when's the last time we played Chicago or Minnesota in the playoffs? I mean, these are two...
I don't think we've ever played.
These are two playoff teams. Like
back when... I mean, we've never played Minnesota, that's for certain. And when the Stars were constantly going to the playoffs, that's when the Chicago Blackhawks were either not in the playoffs or they were getting knocked out in the first round by someone else. That was down whenever Chicago wasn't really good.
I mean, I would much rather play Minnesota just because the sole fact is Chicago's won 3 cups in the last 5 years. This is a Stanley Cup team. They may not show it in the regular season, but what's stopping them from turning into that Stanley Cup caliber team as soon as Game 1 hits? So I would much rather than play...
Well, you'd much rather than play Chicago? Or Minnesota?
Yeah, I'd much rather than play Minnesota.
We'll talk a little bit more about that come next episode. We'll do, since we'll know exactly who they're playing, we might do a preview of the series or something like that. Me, personally... I would love to go up against the Chicago Blackhawks just to see where this Dallas Stars teams match up against the best of the best. But then again, I'd love to see a Minnesota-Dallas rivalry first round playoffs type match. I mean, you couldn't write up a better... We get snuffed in the Stadium Series game because Minnesota doesn't want to play us because they want to play Chicago. But then again, Dallas comes out and kicks the crap out of them in the first round. We could say, yeah, you're lucky you didn't play us because we would have kicked the crap out of you at that game. But like we said, we'll talk about that a little more come next episode. Let's go into the ratings. What did you rate this game?
I gave it an A-. The only reason why I didn't get an A or an A+ is because in the third period, I'm a stickler for the little things. They after that goal was scored by Colorado, it just seemed like Colorado had all the momentum going for them. Dallas was running around, scrambling for I don't know how long, maybe 5 minutes.
I think they got stuck in their own zone for
they were down there for a while. So I think that's the only thing that stops them from getting an A or A+.
Me, I gave an A because I thought that first goal you can kind of wipe that because Kari just didn't have a lot of action and he got just beat on a good shot that he was screened on. That second goal, kind of inexcusable. You need to have better defensive posture on that one. But just them just not having that killer instinct for that last 10 minutes of the game just brought down that rating. Other than that, they played an absolute stellar game up until the last 10 minutes of that third period. Going into the final game of the regular season, game 82 versus the Nashville Predators. We're going to go with me first on these scores. I think since Dallas has something to play for, Nashville is in the playoffs but doesn't really have much. I think they are seeded no matter what. I don't think they move up or drop down any with a win or a loss. So I think they might kind of take it easy or they might show up and try to play their balls off. Dallas has everything to play for in this game. I like a score of... I'm going to say 5-3 for Dallas. And a score of 2-1 for Nashville. What about you?
I'm going to go with a score of Dallas 4-3. And that's the only prediction I'm going to give.
Now, you do realize that the last time you gave a prediction like that, Dallas lost. Pretty bad.
Yep.
Alright, so I guess we're just going to see if you're a jinx or not. Oh, other thing. Who do you think starts in goal?
I would probably say Niemi to rest Lettinen up for the playoffs.
Yeah, my gut's saying Niemi. I think he gets that final start. But then again, it's at home. It's the final game. You might want to start Kari because it's the final game, but I think my gut is saying it's Niemi. So with that, that's the discussion. Be sure to subscribe if you want to keep up with us. Hit the like button down below. Leave any kind of feedback down below. Remember, this is a show for fans, by fans, and, as always, tune in next time.